Russia's story begins on the vast East European plain, a land of dense northern forests and southern steppes. Mighty rivers like the Volga, Dnieper and Don served as ancient highways enabling trade. The immense scale of the land shaped its people, fostering resilience. Early inhabitants were East Slavic tribes, farmers and hunters living in scattered settlements, deeply connected to nature and pagan beliefs. A pivotal moment came with the arrival of the Varangians, Norse warriors and traders from Scandinavia. Legend tells of Rurik, a Varangian chieftain invited to rule in Novgorod around 862 AD, marking a foundational moment in Russian statehood. The Varangians brought military skill and established control over key trade routes, linking Scandinavia to Byzantium. From these beginnings, Kievan Rus emerged, centered on Kiev along the Dnieper River. By the 10th and 11th centuries, Kievan Rus was a powerful federation of principalities, ruled by the Rurikid dynasty. Kiev's strategic location enabled trade and cultural exchange with Byzantium, bringing wealth and Eastern Orthodox Christianity under Prince Vladimir in 988 AD. Kievan Rus became a vibrant society, a crucial link between Northern Europe and the civilizations of the South. Its legacy laid the cultural and political groundwork for modern Russia. Before the Mongols, Kievan Rus was already fragmenting, with rival princes weakening central authority. New centers like Vladimir Suzdal and Galicia-Volhynia rose, making the region vulnerable. In the 13th century, the Mongol Empire, led by Batu Khan, invaded devastating cities. The Mongol conquest shattered the old order, ushering in the Mongol yoke. Over 2 centuries of foreign domination, Russian principalities paid tribute and had to seek approval to rule. This period isolated Russia from Western Europe, but also forged resilience. Amid Mongol rule, Moscow, once minor, began to rise. Moscow's princes skillfully navigated Mongol politics, becoming chief tribute collectors and gaining leverage. Its strategic location offered protection, and Moscow gradually absorbed neighboring lands, consolidating power. Moscow would become the heart of a unified Russia. Moscow's rise culminated with Ivan III, or Ivan the Great, who ruled from 1462 to 1505. He expanded Moscow's territory and centralized administration. Ivan ended Mongol dominance after the standoff at the Ugra River in 1480. Ivan's marriage to Sofia Palaiologina brought imperial ambitions to Moscow. The idea of Moscow as the Third Rome took hold. Ivan's grandson, Ivan IV, better known as Ivan the Terrible, was crowned the first Tsar in 1547. Ivan IV's early reign saw reforms and territorial expansion, conquering Kazan and Astrakhan, opening the way to Siberia. However, his later years were marked by paranoia and brutality. Ivan's actions left Russia larger and more centralized, but deeply scarred by violence. The Tsardom of Russia emerged as a multi-ethnic empire ruled by absolute power. Ivan's legacy was both the strengthening of the state and the deepening of its authoritarian character. Ivan the Terrible's son died childless in 1598, ending the Rurikid dynasty and plunging Russia into the time of troubles. Boris Godunov became Tsar, but his reign was marred by famine, unrest, and questions of legitimacy. A series of impostors, the false Dimitris, claimed the throne, while foreign powers like Poland, Lithuania and Sweden intervened, even occupying Moscow. The state teetered on collapse, with lawlessness and peasant uprisings spreading. Amid chaos, a patriotic movement arose. Kuzma Minin and Prince Podorsky rallied a volunteer army to liberate Moscow in 1612. Their victory marked a turning point, restoring hope for unity and independence. In 1613, a Zemsky Sobor, or Assembly of the Land, elected Michael Romanov as Tsar, founding the Romanov dynasty. The Romanovs' first task was to restore stability and end foreign wars. The new dynasty began the long process of national recovery. The time of troubles left a legacy of resilience and the importance of unity. The Romanovs would rule for the next 3 centuries. Russia emerged from crisis with a renewed sense of identity. The foundations for a powerful state were laid. A new era had begun. The Romanovs consolidated power, but it was Peter the Great who transformed Russia into a European empire. Ascending the throne in the late 17th century, Peter travelled to Western Europe, learning about shipbuilding industry and military organization. Convinced Russia needed radical change, he launched sweeping reforms, modernizing the army, creating a navy, and reorganizing government. Peter imposed Western customs, promoted education, and pushed industrialization, often against fierce resistance. His central goal was access to the sea, leading to the Great Northern War against Sweden. After early setbacks, Peter's forces triumphed at Poltava in 1709, securing Baltic territories and a window to the west. In 1703, he founded St. Petersburg, a new European-style capital built on the Neva River. St. Petersburg symbolized Russia's break with its past and embrace of Western ideas. In 1721, Peter proclaimed Russia an empire and himself as emperor. His reign fundamentally altered Russia's trajectory, making it a major European power. Peter's legacy was a modernized, outward-looking Russia. The empire's future would be shaped by his vision. Russia now stood among Europe's great powers. Decades after Peter Catherine the Great, a German princess seized the throne in 1762 and became one of Russia's most influential rulers. She embraced Enlightenment ideals, corresponded with thinkers like Voltaire, and promoted education, arts, and legal reform. Under Catherine, Russia expanded through wars with the Ottoman Empire and the partitions of Poland, gaining Black Sea ports and vast new territories. Her reign marked a golden age for the elite, with cultural flourishing and increased international prestige. However, serfdom became more entrenched, deepening social inequality and fueling unrest. The Pugachev Rebellion, a massive peasant uprising, was brutally suppressed, highlighting the empire's internal tensions. Alarmed by revolt and the French Revolution, Catherine grew more conservative, prioritizing autocratic rule over reform. She expanded Russia's borders and strengthened the state, but at the cost of millions of oppressed serfs. Catherine's legacy was one of power, culture, and contradiction. The empire reached new heights, but its social divisions deepened. The seeds of future upheaval were sown. Russia's imperial ambitions and internal challenges would shape its destiny. The age of enlightened autocracy had its limits. The 19th century began with Napoleon's invasion in 1812, a defining test for Russia. Russian forces retreated, drawing the French deep into the country. Moscow was occupied and burned. The harsh winter and partisan warfare forced Napoleon's disastrous retreat, boosting Russian prestige. Victory exposed Russian officers to Western liberal ideas, leading to the Decembrist revolt of 1825, which was swiftly crushed. Tsar Nicholas I responded with repression, censorship, and expanded secret police, resisting reform. Russia's defeat in the Crimean War, 1853-56, revealed its backwardness and the urgent need for change. Alexander II, the Tsar liberator, emancipated the serfs in 1861 and introduced judicial, military, and local reforms. Despite reforms, revolutionary ideas spread among intellectuals and students, some turning to violence. Alexander II was assassinated in 1881, ushering in renewed repression under his successors. The seeds of revolution continued to grow. Social and political pressures mounted. Russia stood on the brink of transformation. The old order was under threat. The early 20th century brought crisis. Defeat in the Russo-Japanese War, the 1905 revolution, and growing unrest. The Tsar's concessions after Bloody Sunday proved inadequate, and World War I pushed Russia to the breaking point. In 1917, revolution erupted. The Tsar abdicated, ending centuries of Romanov rule. A provisional government struggled, while the Bolsheviks, led by Lenin, promised peace, land, and bread. In October 1917, the Bolsheviks seized power, beginning communist rule. A brutal civil war followed. The Bolsheviks triumphed, founding the USSR in 1922. After Lenin's death, Stalin consolidated power, launching rapid industrialization and forced collectivization. Industrial growth came at a terrible human cost: famine, especially in Ukraine, and widespread suffering. Stalin's rule was marked by extreme repression. The Great Purge saw millions arrested, executed or sent to labor camps. The Soviet state became a totalitarian leviathan, controlling all aspects of life. Stalin's policies transformed the USSR into a major power, but at immense human cost. The legacy of revolution and terror would shape Russia for decades. The Soviet experiment had begun in blood and upheaval. C. World War II, the Great Patriotic War, saw the USSR endure immense losses but emerge as a superpower after defeating Nazi Germany. The Cold War followed, a global rivalry with the United States defined by nuclear arms, proxy wars and ideological conflict. The Soviet Union dominated Eastern Europe, but by the 1980s economic stagnation and internal pressures mounted. Mikhail Gorbachev's reforms, perestroika and glasnost, aimed to revitalize the system but instead unleashed forces that led to collapse. Nationalist movements surged, and in 1991 the USSR dissolved, ending the Cold War. The Russian Federation emerged, facing economic turmoil and political instability in the 1990s. Vladimir Putin rose to power in 2000, seeking to restore Russia's influence and stability. Today, Russia navigates its complex post-Soviet identity, balancing tradition and change. Its long dramatic history, from Kievan Ruses to empire, revolution and superpower, shapes its present and future. Russia's legacy is both enduring and contentious. The nation continues to play a pivotal role on the world stage. Its story is one of resilience, transformation and ongoing challenges. The Russian journey is far from over.